In Emmerdale, Celia Daniels and Ray Walters are still causing chaos, even after their deaths. Although both characters died weeks ago, their actions continue to have devastating consequences for the villagers, with Beowulf now caught up in the fallout. Bear is currently a prime suspect in Ray's murder, and in a cruel twist, new developments threaten to make his situation even worse. Paddy Kirk is desperately hoping that fresh evidence will surface before the trial on the 4th May. But when it finally does, it doesn't bring the outcome he was expecting. The Dingle family remain determined to secure Moira Dingle's freedom, pushing Robert Sugden, who feels guilty for framing her, to seek out Bear for any information that could help. Bear provides a small lead by mentioning a number plate Ray once asked him to conceal. Using this clue, Robert turns to Cammy, who traces it back to a storage unit, and with a key discovered at Celia's farm, they manage to gain access. Inside the unit, they find a large amount of evidence, but instead of clearing Bear's name, it only deepens suspicion around him. During questioning, DS Walsh presents the first piece of new evidence: bank records showing payments from Ray into an account linked to Bear. The situation worsens as the detective forms a new theory, supported by Bear's own comment that Ray had promised to always look after him. DS Walsh begins to suspect that Bear was actually working with Ray and may have killed him in an attempt to take control of the entire operation. In Emmerdale, Jacob Gallagher finds himself unable to escape Dr. Caitlin Todd as her bullying behaviour intensifies. Just when it seemed she couldn't get any worse, Dr. Todd shifts the blame onto Jacob, making him appear like the problem instead. She continues to make his work life miserable, constantly criticising him, piling on unrealistic tasks, and then tearing apart his efforts. Even after Jacob was attacked by Beowulf during a PTSD episode, she showed no sympathy and instead focused on blaming him. She also turned against him over a suspected misdiagnosis involving Kim Tate, even encouraging a formal complaint to be made. For a brief moment, things appeared to improve when Jacob saw a different side of her after she lost her temper with an elderly patient, who was later revealed to be her father. During an emotional conversation, Dr. Todd shared personal details about her life, leading Jacob to believe they had reached a better understanding. However, that sense of progress proves to be misleading. Upcoming scenes show that Dr. Todd is still determined to make Jacob's job unbearable. Although she reassures him that everything is fine between them, she is secretly recording evidence to paint him as obsessive. The situation becomes even more uncomfortable when Jacob learns that Dr. Todd is moving in with Vanessa Woodfield, placing her even closer to his daily life. With his boss now living nearby, Jacob faces increasing pressure as her manipulation continues. Desperate for a break, he arranges to swap shifts with Rich, hoping to avoid her for a day. Unfortunately, the plan backfires, and he ends up scheduled to work with her again instead. As if things couldn't get worse, Dr. Todd begins influencing Manpreet Sharma, convincing her that Jacob is becoming fixated on her. In Emmerdale, early streaming episodes appear to hint at Dawn Taylor's eventual exit following a tense confrontation with Joe Tate. This storyline comes from the April 12th episode, which is already available on ITVX and YouTube ahead of its ITV1 broadcast. Once again, Joe proves he hasn't learned from his mistakes. In the latest scenes, it becomes clear that he is deeply afraid of losing Dawn, prompting him to tell yet another lie to keep their relationship intact. Earlier in the week, Dawn discovered Robert Sugden going through Joe's computer. Although he tried to cover his tracks, she later uncovered a video Joe had secretly recorded in January involving Victoria and John Sugden. The discovery left Dawn shocked, and she quickly confronted Joe about his actions. From her perspective, he should have helped Victoria instead of filming the situation for his own benefit. Joe attempted to justify himself by insisting he never planned to report Victoria and only kept the footage as protection, but Dawn was disgusted that he had hidden the truth for so long. She packed her belongings and decided to stay at Billy Fletcher's with the children. In today's episode, Dawn initially gave Joe the cold shoulder, though he soon managed to get back into her good graces. Despite his many flaws, Joe genuinely cares about Dawn, and she still has feelings for him. However, she made it clear that she wants honesty and refuses to be part of his destructive behavior. Joe reassured her that he had no more secrets, and the two shared a moment together. However, if he had been truthful, it likely would have ended their relationship immediately. Importantly, Joe is still hiding the fact that he was responsible for destroying Holly Barton's memorial tree earlier in the week. Dawn had already warned that such an act would end their relationship if it were true. With Olivia Bromley set to leave the role later this year, the storyline raises the question of whether Dawn will ultimately leave Joe once everything is revealed. In Emmerdale, Aaron Dingle now knows the full truth about who framed Moira and the role Robert Sugden played, and he is determined to fix things. There is finally a sense of hope, as new evidence is set to emerge next week that could completely change the situation. However, a major problem looms, as Moira is preparing to plead guilty and time is quickly running out. In the April 10th episode, tensions reached breaking point when Robert decided to take action against Joe Tate. He teamed up with Ross Barton in an attempt to access Joe's laptop, but their plan failed when Ross admitted he didn't actually know the password. Frustrated, Robert sent Ross away and continued alone, only to be caught by Dawn Taylor. When his excuse didn't convince her, Dawn threatened to involve the police. With no way out, Robert was forced to admit everything. Dawn then found and watched the video showing Victoria killing John, clearly revealing it was an act of self-defense. Shocked by what she saw, Dawn prepared to confront Joe, while Robert returned home to face Aaron. Back at home, Aaron overheard Ross demanding money, which pushed Robert into confessing that he had planted evidence against Moira. Aaron reacted angrily, struggling to come to terms with the betrayal, and unsure if he could forgive him. Later, Dawn informed Robert that she had deleted the video and cut ties with Joe, leaving with the children to stay with Billy. This raises serious doubts about whether their relationship can be repaired. Despite everything, Aaron made an unexpected choice not to report Robert, instead insisting they work together to find proof that could clear Moira's name. However, he warned that their relationship is now on very fragile ground. The drama continues on April 12th, when Robert visits Bear in prison, trying to get information that could help Moira's case. Paddy is furious when he learns what Robert is doing and confronts him over it. As the case against her grows stronger, Moira remains set on admitting guilt, despite the consequences. Kane is determined to make her reconsider, but she stays focused on returning to her children as soon as possible. When Kane finally obtains the new evidence, he rushes desperately to reach the court in time. Just as Moira is about to enter, he arrives and urgently calls out with the update. Now everything depends on whether the revelation comes soon enough to change her decision. Will Moira reconsider her plea, or is it already too late? And could this breakthrough finally secure her freedom? Emmerdale typically airs on weekday evenings at 8 p.m. on ITV, with episodes available earlier on ITVX from 7 a.m.